few gentlemen. In some of the groups we didn't have any. So now we've got a lot of things to do. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and then basically, because this is such a large group and you have such a variety of interests, the whole concept is going to be a question and answer. If you have questions on your roses, I'm going to try and give you an answer. But first of all, just to tell you what I've been doing, I grew up in northern Minnesota. I started, actually I farmed in the farm instead, and then I went into service, and I learned electronics, and then I went to school. I'm actually a retired electrical engineer, but I've been growing roses for 45 years in Minnesota, 2 places in Florida, over on Table Rock Lake, and now in Springfield. Now in this area, most of them are in pots. We do grow a lot of roses in pots here because you can move them around and you don't have to dig down into the rubble rock. When I dig out a place for a plant, I'll take a 5-gallon pail, I'll fill it with rubble rock, and then I have to buy some soil and fill it in with good soil. Now, question, what do you do with the rubble rock? You know what I do? The river is about 2 miles down, so I'll drive down by the river and I'll clean up the soil there. That's how you get rid of river rock. Okay, so now, I know some of you probably have an interest in rose growing, probably some of you do not, and some of you that are growing roses, you may have some questions. So we are just going to start along with any questions that you have. We had some here before, just sitting here. And there were some good questions. If we don't get any new questions, we're going to repeat the old ones. So, anybody have questions on growing roses? Problems? Yes.
Last fall, I didn't get mine cut, and they're really crowded.
Yes.
Do I just want to gradually take one out here and there, or do it all at once?
Okay. So you didn't do any pruning in the fall or in the spring?
No.
I guess. And now they're just too compact.
Yeah, and they're not going to get no air to the middle.
Okay. Go look in that rose. You're going to find some stems that are already black, some stems that are turning yellow, and those are the first ones that are going to go. You take those out and clear those out now. And anytime on the tips, they may have frozen back or died back. You should take all that out until you see a nice stem coming out that's real nice, you know, below that bad stuff.
Okay.
And yes, you can do it now. Well, anything that isn't growing healthy, you should take out anyway.
Okay.
And make sure that down on the bottom you have no dead stubs, no dead wood. Take all that out.
Take it down all the way?
Dead wood.
Dead wood.
Oh yes, don't leave a stub down there because that just creates a fungal or fungus growth down there, bacteria growth, and it rots the stem.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes.
How come the Japanese beetles and beers are more attractive to the fragrant roses?
I didn't ask them.
I thought maybe there was something chemistry.
The Japanese beetles, yes, they are sensitive to perfumes or pheromones as they call them.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate that they do seek the scented roses. But would you know that, and I've heard people say this, well, I'll take that beetle and I'll crush it and step on it. That's the worst thing you can do. Because that smell from that dead bug is going to attract other bugs.
Right.
So they're just going to keep coming and coming. So again, we can use 7 and it'll kill the bug, but by the time it kills the bug, the rose flower is destroyed. I mean, it's all chewed up. So there's not much we can do with them. Now you can pick them, and if you can pick them, that's fine. But destroy them. Don't put them in your compost pile. Put them in the garbage. You know, destroy them that way. So that's the way to get rid of them. And I tell you what, the fellow over, well, not this group, but up in Springfield, he has a bunch of grandchildren. So, 10 cents a bug.
Wow.
Now, they could become millionaires pretty quick, I think.
Yeah.
10 cents a bug. Well, that reminded me of a story. When I was a kid, we had two kinds of bugs. We had a potato beetle and the white moth caterpillar worm. My mother would give me a penny for 100 potato beetles. So, you see, inflation has set in. So anyway, that's Japanese beetles. It's unfortunate we can't do much with them. Okay, any other questions? Yes?
Black spot.
Oh, that's a best one I like, black spot. Because the first thing you have to know is how does black spot get on your plant? You know, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't get it. First of all, black spot spores, they're all over. There isn't a part of the country that doesn't have black spot spores. But in some parts of the country, it doesn't hurt the roses, and I'll tell you why. Black spot spore lands on a rose leaf and sits there. If that leaf gets wet and that spore stays in the water from 6 to 8 hours, it inoculates the leaf. And that leaf is inoculated just like you would have the measles. Once you're inoculated with the measles, you cannot get rid of them. There's no cure for it. So that's a problem with black spot. It inoculates the leaf, you cannot cure it. So okay. 15 to 40 days later, depending on the temperature, that leaf starts turning yellow and eventually dies and falls off. And the process keeps going and going and going because you're going to have rain and you aren't going to prevent the leaves from getting wet, overnight. Now that's why, like in Arizona or some parts of California, you don't have much black spot because the leaf never stays wet. Okay? But anyway, you cannot cure it. So the only thing you can do is prevent it. And you coat the leaf with a preventer and every 10 days, and that keeps your roses clean. And I'll talk about it right now. I've got 4 chemicals here. I don't sell Bayer Advance, and I don't get a commission out of this, but I use these because they're economical for the homeowner. There are some products that are commercially available, and I know of one product that you can get a quart of it for $300. So, we aren't going to buy that. But anyway, I use I use basically these two here. And why don't I use this one and that one all the time? Is because they're more expensive. This one here is what we call a complete insect killer. Now, if you have insects, aphids, worms, any kind of little critters, this is what you want to put on there. And you don't have to put this on all the time. You put it on when the insects are there. Because it's a contact killer, it'll kill them when you spray it, and it's a little systemic. So when they chew the leaf, they'll die also. So it's a good product that way. Here's the black spot. Use this all the time for black spot. You don't know when it's coming. I use it every 10 days. I spray, and this is a spray. I use it to spray the roses. And here's another thing. Tomorrow we're supposed to have some rain coming through here. I sprayed last night because I don't want to have that rain come in before the leaves are protected. And the last time I sprayed was about 10 days ago. So I sprayed yesterday, so now I can spray another 10 days. But I'll watch the weather. If I see a rain coming in that I sprayed maybe 7-10 days ago, I'll hit it with the spray to prevent it. But this is a preventer for black spot and powdery mildew and all kinds of other diseases. Strictly disease control. And this one you have to apply almost every 10 days, except on knockouts and some of the other roses. They're good.
So if I have a rose bush that last year I know it had black spots.
Okay.
This will prevent a breakout?
Yes. Okay, but here's the point. You should have started it already.
I should have, yes.
Yes. Right now I live in Springfield and I've sprayed 3 times already. See? March, and now what is it, May 17th? So 3 times.
I got some time. I'm from Wisconsin.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we don't have any.
Well,
our rose bushes aren't up much.
That's what a lot of people think. But you have to get it out there. As soon as the little leaves start showing up, black spot will be there. Yeah. And if you have black spot and you don't have too much of it and you forgot to or didn't use any sprays, pick the leaves off. That will help. Okay. Because the spores from the old leaves will spread onto the new leaves, and it's a continuous cycle. And ultimately, the leaves all fall off, and your plant becomes very, sick. Yeah. So, okay. This is a disease. This is an all-in-one spray. This is a liquid, and it contains insect, disease, spider mites. Spider mites, by the way, are not normal insects. They're spiders, and this stuff will not kill spiders. See? So you need something with mites. Spider mites can kill. This is an all-in-one, and you can spray this instead of this and this, but it's much more expensive. So I use this one all the time. This one as needed. This one if I have spider mites, because those will not control spider mites. This is all-in-one flower care, which has got the disease-resistant stuff, insect stuff, and it's got fertilizer in it. But this is a drink. You put it in water, and you pour it around the rose bush. But it's expensive. In a year, you'll probably spend $5 to $6 per rose bush using this stuff. This here, probably about $1 per season. And the problem with this is that you have to apply it very early in the season and do it about every 4 weeks. You have to repeat it because it's systemic. It goes up through the root system and then protects the leaves. But it has to be put on at least 3 weeks before the plant even starts growing. Because once it starts growing, it takes another 3 weeks for it to take effect. And by that time, you'll have diseases. This is very expensive too, as far as I'm concerned. So, any other questions now? We had black spot. Do we know what happens with black spot?
Well,
yes.
They've got, they don't have the prettiest, stems, and you're trying to make sure that they get enough air. Is there a companion plant that works nice with rose bushes?
There are, but I don't use them.
Okay.
There's hundreds of different articles, that use companion plants, garlic plants, marigolds, all kinds of stuff. To some degree, they would work. But, this is all an experiment on your own. I'm too old to experiment. So, I'll tell you, another thing with organic products. Organic products will work, but they have a drawback. They aren't systemic. They don't go into the plant, and they wash off. So, if you spray something today, it may kill your aphids. Tomorrow, there'll be new babies on there, see? So you have to spray again. Or if it rains, it definitely washes them off. So, that's some of the drawbacks.
Is there a special way to deadhead them, or you just
Well,
let them fly?
yes, you have to learn how to deadhead.
Tell me about it.
You shouldn't cut any of these now.
No.
Well, deadhead. Anytime a rose blooms, to make it bloom better next time, you need to deadhead it, which simply means cutting off the spent bloom. A lot of people, these are all knockout roses, different pink and red, etc. It is best to cut the bloom off. You'll have a much better bush growing through the season. If you do deadhead it, cut that bloom off, because your next bloom is going to be a stronger bloom, it's going to be bigger and much more vibrant. Right now, as I look at that stem, if it's a single rose on a stem, I'll probably cut it off maybe 6 inches. If it's a cluster,
Something to do about the number of leaves?
well, yeah.
It's not important.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Number of leaves, I know that in every publication it says you can cut down to 5 leaves. But you know that a little bitty rose down here doesn't have 5 leaves. And you're cutting all its food off. So the bigger the rose is, the more you can cut off on it. But what those articles really are talking about is hybrid teas. These are the type of roses you buy for Valentine's, they're big. Hybrid teas can grow easily this big. You got that stem up there, you can cut it over here, see? And you'll get a 5 leaf. But if you got a little fella like this, you're not going to get a 5 leaf. You're just going to get down below the last blooms and maybe a leaf or two, the little bitty leaves that are underneath that. And like, especially on these roses, you have to take the whole bunch off. There's maybe 3, 4 on a stem. So you go below that. See? And if you have just single roses, of course, a lot of times, if it's a big rose, I suggest pencil size wood. You go down to pencil size and cut it off. But you have to cut off above a leaf. That's where there's a little bud eye down there. Little leaf here and little bud eye coming out the side. That's where the leaf is or used to be. That's the only place you'll get a new stem. You will not get a stem above that. You have to go above a leaf. You will not get it between the leaves. That'll die off. In fact, that's what you have to clip if you see it in your garden. Okay, any other questions? Wow.
What does a spider mite look like?
Oh, what does a spider mite look like?
I don't know. Are they little white ones?
No.
Red.
They're so tiny that you need a magnifying glass to see them.
Are those little red ones that like crawling on concrete?
Yes.
They call they call two-spotted mite. Two-spotted. So if you look through 4 or 5 magnifying glass, you will see them little critters. They'll be walking around and they'll have 2 little spots on them. But anytime you look under a leaf that looks kind of drying, and I say peppery look. On the top it looks like, little gray spots, etc. You turn that over, and you're going to sometimes see little bitty webs, and you'll see little bitty eggs maybe, but you will see them critters walking around. And if you've got good eyesight, you can see them. And they're nasty because nothing will kill them except a miticide. And there are several miticides. But this is relatively cheap. Like I said, this one product, in fact it's called Floramite, it does cost $300 for a quart. But here's the problem with spider mites. These products do not kill their eggs. They kill the live critter. And if there's eggs on that plant, in about 3-4 days, they'll be babies. So you have to spray it again, kill them 3 times in a row, and then you'll wipe them off. Now there's another technique though for spider mites. If you don't have too many roses, you can take a hose with a heavy flow of water, and you will wash them critters off. Just go underneath and wash them off, and they cannot get back on. They can't find their place anymore. So just washing them off is a good idea. But the first thing is to identify them. And you have to look at the bottom. I haven't seen any here. I'll show you samples. There's some black spot over there. Everybody knows what black spot looks like. Good. Because there's some out there. So, what else shall we talk about? Yes. Oh, okay. Do we sterilize shears? No, we don't. No, we don't.
Okay.
Because, I tell you what, when you're out pruning, you just imagine cutting off all these stems off here, and you're going to be just dipping your shears constantly all day.
I mean, between the different rows.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, no, but it's like everything else. I guess it doesn't hurt. If you do that, I would recommend isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol, about 70%. Well, Lysol will, it works, but it will rust your tools. I know it will rust your tools. It's very, very corrosive. Very corrosive. But anyway, pruning, sure, they recommend that. But it is too labor intensive if you continually have to do that. And I've not seen any problem. Like I said, I've been growing them 45 years and have not seen diseases, spread that way. There is one thing though. If you cut off a rose that has a relatively heavy stem, it's probably a good idea to seal that top of that stem with what we call Elmer's outdoor glue. It doesn't have to be Elmer's, but it has to be an outdoor glue. And you glue that, you put a little dab of glue on the end, and that seals it, and it keeps this rose cane borer going down in there and digging a hole. You'll see on some old canes there's a little hole in there, and the fly put a little egg in there, and that developed into a worm and chewed out the center. So especially down at the bottom, I like to seal big heavy canes. And what else do we have? Yeah.
Do you know of any place that still has 7 sister roses?
Okay, question. Do I know any place that has 7 sister roses? I don't know specifically, but there are catalogs that would show. If you go on the internet and say 7 sister roses. Now, there is a little problem with that. 7 sister roses has been mixed up with other roses. And then the people will sell you what is a 7 sister rose, but it's not. And the only difference with the Seven Sisters, that is true, it blooms once a year. So you know, if you find one in the north, I mean, they're still growing up in the north because they're one-time bloomers, that's fine. But I haven't seen them around here. Seven Sisters, if anybody knows of that rose, it was and it still is, a very nice rose. These big clusters of pink roses. But it's a one-time bloomer. That's another thing. If you buy roses, there's two things you have to look for. You should look for the zone that may be listed on them. We're over here in, I'd say northern 6. I like to prefer 5. That gives you the winter hardiness of that rose. So you'd like to have a hardy rose that doesn't freeze on you that winter. And you like to know what the growth habit is, how big they are. And you want to know if it's a one-time bloomer. I like to suggest repeat blooming or continuous blooming. That's one nice advantage of these knockouts. They're really continuous blooming. They don't even stop. There are repeat bloomers which will bloom up, and 4 to 6 weeks later they'll have another flush. That's nice. At least they repeat. These are continuous, so they'll go all year, just one after another. Another thing on climbers. A rose climber is really not a climbing cucumber, for example, or a grape. You know, it doesn't have those tendrils. It doesn't grab on. You have to put it on a trellis. You have to pin it onto that trellis. And climbers, most of the time they like to go straight up and they'll put a flower up here. Well, that's not too generous of them. But you take those branches and lay them out this way. And you will have little guys coming up along there, and you'll have pods of flowers going on that stem going on like that. So your climbers want to go out. And that's where you need a fence or a trellis to put them on. Yes.
What do you recommend is if you're starting on roses and have never built a rose bed before, how do you prepare soil for this?
Okay. I'll repeat your question. You want to know how to start a good rose bed? Okay. I think I have some written material for you. A raised bed is ideal, and you don't have to dig anything up. Raised bed about 12 inches. A lot of times I suggest about 4 or 5 of these timbers, landscape timbers, or the landscape brick blocks. I use 4-inch blocks. Boy, I got a lot of paint on my back. 4-inch blocks, and you put about 3, you know, to make a nice raised bed. Fill it with good soil. You have to buy it here. I don't know, maybe you have got some someplace in the back river or something. But the soil has to be porous. And technically, soil has 3 bases in it: sand, loam, and clay. And we like to say that 50 to 60% of that soil should be sand, really sand. And then the other, pardon?
You want to be really good drainage.
That's the point, good drainage. Because you'll never overwater a rose that has good drainage. You can drown a rose in clay. The problem also is that every plant really needs to breathe oxygen. There's oxygen coming up into the soil, and the plants need that. If they don't have oxygen, they will turn, the leaves will turn yellow. There's no doubt about that. But I think I have a folder later on. I have one over here, I'm sure, starting a rose bed. But I use a lot of little different stuff. But you know, you don't have to use all of it. To answer your question a little bit, that's another 1-hour program, see?
Yeah.
At least. Because I bring all that soil together, you know, and mix it up. Any other question? Where are we?
I was just going to ask you about your gardening tools that you have over
yes.
there. Could you
Sure.
tell us a little bit about the ones that you have over there?
Okay. Okay. For starters, you need these tools. You should have them. You don't need them. This is the most important tool you need. This is what we call a bypass pruner, and it has a sharp edge and kind of a semi-sharp one here. It's not really sharp, but anyway, bypass. The other pruner is called an anvil pruner, and an anvil pruner is a plier like this, but it has a flat surface and a knife that cuts down like this. And on roses or on woody stems, it crushes the stem. You don't want that. You don't want that to happen. So a anvil pruner is good for soft wood plants. like tulips, you know, lads or something like that. But anything that would want to bypass it. And you can buy these anywhere from probably 12, I think 38 bucks. By the way, as you can see, this one has been used for quite a bit. I think it's 40 years old. This other tool is identical to it. That one is good for cutting up to about ½ inch, maybe even more. This one is good for cutting about 1 inch. And then we get way down there. But it's designed the same way. So it's a bypass pruner, but these are called loppers. Here's a very handy little tool for way down on the bottom when you've got a thick stem. You can't get down with the lopper, you get down into the little saw. And it hides, so it's out of the way. And the trick on it is very sharp, very sharp. The way this saw works, it cuts on the back stroke. So, you know, if you ever have used a saw and you try to cut forward, it wiggles on you and doesn't want to cut good. So this one, when you cut back, it cuts straight, you see. It doesn't wiggle away on you. But it's a back stroke. You don't need all this stuff, but it's nice. I'll tell you one thing that very few people know about this stuff. This is called battering plate, B-A-T-T-E-M. It is used in the nurseries to strengthen plastic seams on what you call it?
Shade cloth?
On what?
Shade cloth?
Yeah, well, yeah, that like that tent over there, or that greenhouse. It reinforces the seams, you see. But it is polypropylene, and it's a plastic, very tough. I mean, you can't break it. And if you have a rose bush and you have to stake it, you see, you just wrap this around there, and you put your stake in there, and it won't cut the rose. And here's the nice thing about it: these are drywall nails, drywall. And what you do, you see, you don't have to tie it. You just put it through there, from one side to the other, and there's your. And next time, if you're done with it, like in the fall, you just pull it out and save it. There's a whole bunch of them rolled up here on this one. But this is called back and take. And instead of that little bitty stuff that you buy, you know, something little green stuff, some of that green plastic, doesn't hold up for roses. And this is very nice for roses. And I also use it for reinforcing trees. Like you get a little tree that needs a support, you know, pull down or something. This stuff you have to get from nursery suppliers and catalogs. Now in Springfield, there's 2 places that do sell this. One of them is called DWI. If you know about that, it's a wholesale nursery products. And the other is Hummer's, another nursery product seller. So it's around, but it's not that easy to find. And it's not that expensive, but the problem is it comes in a 300-foot roll. Well, I've done this many, many times on a lot of these products. I'll split it, you know. If you want 50 feet, you want 100 feet or so, we'll roll it up and divide the price. And that works very well. So that's that product. I've got some handouts here. I've got a lot of old magazines left. Anybody want an old magazine? The American Rose Society has a good offer now. If you want to understand roses, the American Rose Society for $10 gives you a trial basis, and you'll get a lot of good information out of that $10. And the other thing is that if you are a member of the American Rose Society, you become a reciprocity. You will get a reciprocity admission to the different gardens in the United States for free. Like if you're a member of the American Rose Society, you can go to the St. Louis Botanical Garden and they'll let you in free. And there's gardens all over the United States that way. And you can print out a list of all the gardens that are free, you might say, if you're that member. But of course, if you're a member of a horticultural society, that also gives you that information. But what I do is I'll take that print out, put it in my car, and as I'm driving through the U.S. or someplace, I can look at that and see where those gardens are. So that's one nice advantage of the American Rose Society.
Thank you very much, Dan.
You betcha. Are you ready to go?
I think so.
Okay,
I
good.
appreciate it. If you want to get flyers.